What's up everyone, it's Caddy with MoneyVest. Boy, do we have a lot to discuss here in today's video. Nvidia absolutely crushing earnings expectations, not to mention a 10-for-1 stock split announced, quadrupling of the dividend, significant amount of buybacks, and also the guidance was picture perfect. I mean, this is what I called an explosion of a company that is in its prime, in its absolute peak performance right now when it comes to the fundamentals, the financials. The business is booming. There are happy days at Nvidia headquarters and of course their offices. So we're going to cover all of it. As always, if you enjoyed this video and find it helpful, make sure that you drop a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're just joining us for the first time. I would really appreciate that, and links to our Discord and Patreon is going to be down below if you're interested in joining us, and of course getting access to all the members only videos, including all the trade alerts and trade ideas. I did pick up SMH pre-earnings, and of course it's pushing up over 2.5%, with Nvidia rocketing over $1,000 for the first time ever on the back of generative AI, and of course pushing up over 6% after hours as well. So again, links going to be down below if you want to join, and there is our individual courses, fundamental analysis, technical analysis, options trading. That's going to be about 50% off. Coupon code May50 expires at the end of this month as well. So first things first, let's take a look at the after hours action for Nvidia, and this right here was the jump. And what's actually quite interesting here is that Nvidia swung about $80 in a span of a few minutes. If you come over to the 30-minute time frame, let's just actually go over to the 5-minute time frame. You'll notice that it actually traded down to as low as 920, and then it rocketed higher to 997. That was about almost an $80 swing in this company. And you know what that $80 swing, or 8.6%, represents? That is a lot of market cap getting swung back and forth in a span of 5 minutes. If you come down and essentially see the market cap, $2.37 trillion, right? $2.37 trillion, 10% of that, right? 2.37, 10% of that number is actually going to be $237 billion. But let's just take 8% because that's how much it swung, 8.6% to be precise. And we are looking at a swing of about $205 billion in a matter of 5 minutes for Nvidia, going from 920 to rocketing up to $1,000 per share. Just absolutely insane amount of volatility when the company reported their earnings at around 4:20 p.m. Quite an interesting time as well. Nvidia surged past $1,000 for the first time on AI-driven sales surge, and this right here were the numbers. And a record quarterly revenue of $26 billion, up 18% from Q4 and 262% on a year-over-year basis. Record quarterly data center revenue up to $22.6 billion, up 23% quarter over quarter, and 427% on a year-over-year basis. They also announced a 10-for-1 forward stock split effective June 7th, so actually very, very soon here. And quarterly cash dividend raised about 150% to about 1 cent per share on a post-split basis, but 10 cents per share on a pre-split basis. And more importantly, the net income, the bottom line earnings, the profitability, like that's what investors really just drool over, and that was up to $598 on a GAAP basis, 21% higher, and 629% on a year-over-year basis. And non-GAAP earnings per share was $6.12, up 19% quarter over quarter, and 461% on a year-over-year basis. The next industrial revolution has begun. Companies and countries are partnering with Nvidia to shift the trillion-dollar traditional data centers to accelerated computing and build the new type of data center, AI factories, to produce new commodity, artificial intelligence. AI will bring significant productivity gains to nearly every industry and help companies to be more cost and energy efficient while expanding revenue opportunities as well. I mean, this is just insane. It's like when everyone is trying to find gold, Nvidia is out there selling shovels. That's quite literally the analogy that I can share here for Nvidia, because that's what they're doing. They're giving companies, countries, governments the accessibility to generative AI to build their models, to train their models, giving them the infrastructure, giving them the brain power to do what they do best, and of course be more cost efficient, energy efficient, time efficient, and also expand revenue. So this is just insane how quickly this company has ramped up its production of a lot of really interesting ideas, data center, of course, GPUs, and Jensen Huang in the past has also said that this is a $1 trillion revolution that's happening because over the last several decades, I mean, the systems have been built on the IBM 360, and most of the hardware is built on that old sort of obsolete operating system and computing power, and now they're switching that all to generative AI, to artificial intelligence. So there's a lot of opportunity to kind of revamp and rebuild this entire $1 trillion infrastructure across the globe. So that's really where the opportunity is. And it also kind of feels a lot like this, right? The entire global economy kind of on the hands of Nvidia. Nvidia is really what's just been supporting the entire market and the global economy as well. Now, one thing I will mention, and this actually is going to come off not in the best way, because I know there's a lot of Nvidia bulls right now, and we love Nvidia, and Nvidia is doing fantastic. I mean, hitting the all-time highs, it's a good time, and nobody wants to hear this. But I'm going to still come out and say it. And the idea here is that as the growth rate starts to slow down, because what will happen here now moving forward is that if you come over to Nvidia, and if you come over to the daily chart, let's just quickly go over to the earnings, right? And I'll tell you exactly when that's going to happen. So you take a look at the earnings. We're looking at $6.12, revenue of $26 billion. Take a look at the last year's previous quarter earnings, just a little bit over $5.22 billion in revenue. Take a look at that. Before, $4 in earnings and $18 billion of revenue. The year before that, $270 and $13.5 billion of revenue. And this right here was the quarter that they just competed against, right? Period ending in April. This right here is also period ending in April, I believe. Yep. So this is the quarter that they just announced against. That was about $1 reported earnings and revenues of $7.19 billion. So I believe there is one more quarter left for Nvidia to report over a triple-digit growth rate. Okay, I'm going to repeat myself. There's one more quarter, which is going to be this quarter, the quarter ending in July, where Nvidia could report a triple-digit gain on revenue and earnings per share. Okay, because revenue for the July quarter was $13.5 billion, EPS was a little bit over $2.70. And I could easily see that doubling on a year-over-year basis when they report their July quarter in August, right? So when that happens, I could see Nvidia report once again a tripling of their year-over-year growth here. But moving forward, what's going to happen then? Okay, that's the real question. Can Nvidia then triple their revenue and earnings per share, right? So what is going to be the numbers for the October quarter when they report in November? Are they going to triple or more than double here in earnings and revenue, right? That's going to be the question. It's possible, right? They could easily report $40 billion revenue by then and earnings per share of close to $10 per share, considering how crazy expectations are. It's possible. But sooner or later, and that time is getting sooner, Nvidia is going to start reporting less of a growth rate, right? They're not going to be exploding earnings by 600%. They're not going to be growing revenues by 300, 400%. It's going to be more closer to 20 to 30%, right? So as these numbers get tapered off, as these growth rates start to come down, still fantastic growth rates, still amazing companies, still very, very strong trajectory. But as these growth rates come down, Wall Street's going to start looking at it as not what we are used to seeing, right? Not what we expected to see, because expectations will keep going higher and higher. And at some point, Nvidia is going to start, instead of beating expectations, meeting expectations, and then eventually coming slightly lower than what the expectations were because of the growth rate slowing down. Right now, everything's perfect. Everything's fantastic. They're doing an excellent job, and we're seeing significant growth here. So our data center growth was fueled by strong and accelerating demand for generative AI, training and interference on the Hopper platform. And beyond cloud services providers, generative AI has expanded to consumer internet companies and enterprise and sovereign AI automotive and healthcare customers, creating multiple multi-billion-dollar verticals for our market. And we are poised for our next wave of growth. And the Blackwell platform, which we talked about in the earnings preview, is in full production and forms a foundation for a $1 trillion parameter scale generative AI. Spectrum S opens a brand new market for us to bring large-scale AI to Ethernet-only data centers. And Nvidia NIM is our new software offering that delivers enterprise-grade optimized generative AI to run our CUDA everywhere, from the cloud to the prem data centers and RTX AI PCs, through our expansive network of ecosystem partners as well. This right here were the numbers. Just absolutely insane. 262% growth year over year on revenue. Margins up 13.8% to 78% compared to 64% same time last year. Operating income was up 690% for the company year over year, up 24% quarter over quarter. Net income up 628%, up 21% quarter over quarter. And diluted earnings per share up 629%, up 21% quarter over quarter. These are just blockbuster numbers. This is what you call like absolute earnings. It's not even an earnings hit. It's just beyond a hit. It's just beyond a beat. You just can't compare. You can't compare any company to Nvidia's numbers. This right here is on a non-GAAP basis. Again, everything is up 400-500%. And these are the things that I'm talking about, right? Can Nvidia continue to grow at 400-600%, right? Eventually, we understand that number is going to start tapering off. And I think that's really what most people need to be aware of, because for growth companies, the most important thing is growth, right? For any growth company that you're investing in, the most important thing is growth. I think same thing happened with Meta. Same thing happened with PayPal. Same things happened with a lot of companies where the growth rate starts to taper off, because at some point, these were high growth, high flying companies. And then once the growth started tapering off, then we're getting more used to the 20 to 30% growth as opposed to 400-500-600% growth. And I think that's really where growth companies have the biggest sort of a blind spot, is because people don't really understand that over the long term, these growth rates are not sustainable, and that eventually they're going to start coming down. And I think that's very something that we have to be cautious about. Not something I'm saying that, that's going to happen in the future, so this is the top, start selling and get liquidated. No, I think Nvidia is a fantastic company. It's got lots of potential. Easily could touch $4 or $5 trillion over the long term. It's just the path to getting there could be sort of bumpy moving forward, because of growth rates starting to slow down a little bit now moving forward as the numbers are getting bigger and bigger. Nvidia, if they're able to do like $150 billion in revenue this year, what kind of growth are we going to see in the following year? Because last year they reported revenues of about $60 billion. And the expectations are for Nvidia to report earnings, or let's just go over to revenue, of a little bit over $112 billion. So let's say that they get up to $150 billion, right? Can they double from there, right? You can see the 112 is going from 141, right? It's not going to 300. It's not going to 350 or 400. It's going from 112 to 141. So that's not a doubling growth. That's modest growth, reasonable linear growth, as opposed to the exponential that we're seeing at the moment from the company. This right here is the guidance. $28 billion in revenue expected in the second quarter fiscal year 25. GAAP and non-GAAP gross margins between 74.8 and 75.5%. And GAAP and non-GAAP operating expenses about $4 billion and $2.8 billion respectively. And again, GAAP and non-GAAP tax rate 17%, and GAAP and non-GAAP other income and expenses expected around $300 million for the company as well. These right here again are going to be the numbers. Excellent margins. Their operating expenses, very small growth. It's kind of crazy how efficient this business is. The operating leverage on Nvidia is actually quite insane, because the revenue growth of 400% with operating expense, actually gross profit growth of 400%, while operating expenses barely moved. They went up by 50%, but it's just the operating leverage on this company is so insane. Plus the margins are just filthy, absolutely filthy margins. This right here is the balance sheet, and even the balance sheet is now swelled up to $31 billion of cash, with all their liabilities at $27.9 billion, $28 billion. This is just a pure high growth, excellent balance sheet type stock. This is it absolutely deserves to be where it is. Absolutely no doubt about it. 2.6, 2.7 trillion, whatever the market cap is just insane. The company's largest and most important business is its data center sales, which includes its AI chips, as well as many of the additional parts needed to run big AI servers. Nvidia said that a data center category rose 427% from the year-ago quarter to $22.6 billion in revenue. A big highlight this quarter was Meta's announcement of the Llama 3 their biggest latest large language model, which used 24,000 H100 GPUs, and just the pricing of these GPUs alone, is running big money for Meta, right? So 24,000 with an estimated, let's say, $25,000 per chip. I mean, they're spending $500 million alone. I mean, which is accounting for probably a big piece of the overall puzzle for Nvidia. And she added that large cloud providers make about mid 40% of Nvidia's data center revenue as well. So that's it. I mean, 10 cents, 10 for 1 stock split happening for Nvidia very soon. And that's going to happen June 1st. Most likely going to be trading at around $100 a share, Nvidia once again. But this has been an absolutely incredible run up for Nvidia. The valuation now is going to be sitting. Let's take a quick look on the valuation. 596. Actually, that's on a quarter. No, that was on an annual basis. There we go. On an annual basis, we're looking at $25 for earnings per share. So 1,000 divided by 25, we're looking at 40 times earnings multiple for the company right now on a 2024 basis. And again, $25 is very much the possibility. In fact, even higher than that for Nvidia. But then $32 is 2025. So if you divide that by 32, we're looking at 31.25 times earnings multiple for the company at the moment as well. Price to sales ratio is definitely a little too high because the market cap of 2.37 trillion and a projected revenue of 112 billion. So 2370 divided by 112. We're looking at now at 21 times sales for the company on a 2024 basis, which again, one could argue is a little bit higher than what we're used to seeing, but this is going to be this was the analysis, came down to 741, 750s. Since then, a very nice rally of 31% for Nvidia. Support level is going to stay put at $908 and up to as much as $970, new all-time high for Nvidia. Congratulations to everyone. Absolutely stellar quarter, beast of a company, exploding earnings, and 10 for 1 stock split is just the cherry on top that Nvidia is putting out. They know how to play this game. So hope you all enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Make sure that you drop a like. And again, a lot of semiconductor stocks were higher. So SMH pushed up a little bit over 2%, as you can see, 2.3%. ASML was up a little bit over 1.6%. Advanced Micro Devices, let's take a look, was up 1.9%. Qualcomm pushing higher a little bit over 71 basis points. Micron was up over 2.3%. Super Micro was up a little bit over 4%. So across the board, Nvidia really lifting semiconductor stocks here on the day. So hope you all enjoyed this video, found it helpful. Make sure that you drop a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Links to our Discord and Patreon is going to be down below. As always, happy investing. I'll see you all in the next video.